Einen wunderschönen guten Morgen. Ein neuer Tag ist angebrochen. Die neue Woche beginnt. Es ist Sonntagmorgen und heute treffen wir uns ein bisschen später. Zwar erst um 8:30. Normalerweise beginnt ja unser Arbeitstag immer um 8 in der Woche. Sonntag beginnen wir eine halbe Stunde später und bin schon gespannt. Bin jetzt gerade auf dem Weg zur Scheune, wo wir uns jetzt treffen. Und dann kriegen wir gesagt, was wir heute zu tun haben und was wir lernen werden. Und da freue ich mich, euch mitzunehmen. Wir haben gerade unsere Sitzung beendet und ich habe mir gedacht, ich zeige euch einfach mal, was wir besprochen haben. Das war sehr interessant. Wir treffen uns eben immer am Sonntagmorgen und gehen dann durch, was in der Woche so getan werden muss oder im Monat, was wichtig ist. Und ich zeige euch das einfach mal. Könnt ihr mal mithören, was jetzt eben hier im Monat März auf der Farm so passiert, wo die Prioritäten sind, wo vielleicht auch Probleme sind und einfach Fragen, die uns so gekommen sind zwischendurch. Und ich denke, einfach beim Zuschauen von dem, was wir heute Morgen besprochen haben, gibt es einiges, was wir lernen können und wo wahrscheinlich jeder von uns ein bisschen was sich von rausnehmen kann. Also viel Freude damit und wir sehen uns gleich wieder.
You know, just a few things to help you understand. Basically, the month of March, I feel from experience, is too early to be planting outside. Because as you'll see this week, you know, we had beautiful weather last week, but it's going to get cold again, like tonight, and be cold for a couple days, and then it'll warm up again. But I can almost promise you it'll get cold again. It's just this in March, or especially in March, but even April, at least the first half of April, there's a lot of this up and down. So right now we're focused on planting in undercover. That's why we've been focused on getting the H houses all filled up and prepared. We need to finish on H4, get that prepared and planted. So H1 is brassicas, and that's all planted, although we'll need to pull the kale out at some point, the big kale, and put in new stuff. H2 is going to be tomatoes, but right now we're planting other stuff between the rows because the tomatoes will be small. Ideally, should be planting the tomatoes this week. And I hope that we can do that, but right now we're waiting on heat. They're supposed to be installing a new propane tank and running the line to H2. And I have to finish hooking up the pipes from the heater to where they will plug in outside there. I'm hoping to do that today. So that's a hold up there. We don't want to put tomatoes in there until we have heat, because I think everybody probably knows that tomatoes will die when temperatures get to freezing. So
none of the hoop houses have heat right now?
That's correct.
Okay.
H4 should have heat, but we've got issues with the heater itself. It was like it would be on fire, you know, which is a little scary. So we turned the heat off there, and we just need to take time to try to diagnose the problem. Maybe that's something we can.
What about solar?
Well, I mean, the greenhouses are heated solar in the daytime, but the problem with greenhouses is that at night that heat dissipates. They're very poorly insulated, and so as soon as the sun goes down, the heat goes. So in the daytime, yeah, they don't need heat as long as the sun is shining. So anyway, H2 will be tomatoes. H3 is root crops at this point. Well, beets and carrots, those are both good sellers for us. H4 will be peppers and eggplant and cucumbers. The cucumbers,
Thank you.
because we have challenges with cucumbers. We've got a lot of pests that like cucumbers. We've got a cucumber beetle. We've got a squash bug, because cucumbers are in the squash family. And then there's also a squash vine borer. We haven't had issues with that recently, but cucumber beetles are probably our worst pest as far as causing damage. So we succession plant cucumbers. Every month we'll plant a row, at least every month, maybe every 3 weeks.
Weren't we doing every other week before? Or was it more?
I don't know if we did every other week. Anyway, so they'll be rotating through the alternating rows. The peppers and eggplant will be on row 2, 4, 6, and 8.
How does how does succession planting help keep away pests?
Well, there's 2 ways it can help keep away pests. Number 1 is if you kind of move it away from each other. So the pests think the squash is over here, but then you pull that squash out and plant it over here, and they're like, wait, where did it go? You know, and it takes them a while to find the new place. So that's one way, but the other way is you're not even trying to trick them, you're just trying to keep planting. And usually it takes a while for the pests to do the plants in, so you have a period where they, when they're young and really strong and healthy, they'll do okay, but then as they mature, the pests start gaining the upper hand, and so you have a new crop that's coming on strong and healthy. So anyway, that's what's going on over there. We need to work up. We've got 2 pads in M5 that need to be worked up, and we need to be planting more lettuce. Lettuce is our big main crop, and the goal is to be planting a whole M pad of lettuce every week.
Oh wow! For the summer or like?
For the summer.
Wow.
Yeah. And yeah, we sell a lot of lettuce. That's our
Romaine lettuce?
our biggest money maker.
Baby lettuce.
Baby lettuce. Okay.
I mean
Salad.
the stuff that we've been eating.
Oh,
Like-
for salad?
Yeah,
Okay.
salad mix.
Gotcha.
So, and the other thing we're trying to do now in the month of March is just prepare as many beds and pads as we can, even if we're not planting them immediately. Because as we've said, once strawberries start coming on, and we start harvesting and marketing, there's precious little time for bed prep and that kind of thing. So we just want to keep it coming.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, the beauty of the silage tarps is that they do much of the bed prep for you, and it makes it so much easier. But like in the H houses, because we've been using those all winter, there's no chance to tarp them.
Mm-hmm.
Does that make sense? So we have to just prep them all by hand. Other things on the farm, we want to be taking soil tests this week on the M pads. So we will be assigning you your own space. I think Aunt Pam talked about that. You will each have a pad, and you know, like M1, M2, M3, so on. That is yours. That's your baby that you're supposed to keep. Something that if your parents were to come to visit, you'd be proud to show them. That's the goal.
My parents are far away.
I'm the only one who has a chance of that.
Or my family might come.
Yeah,
I don't know.
that's
We'll
true.
see.
But you can show them by video, right?
Yes. Yes, I can do.
So that's something we'll be assigning this week, and then you'll be taking soil tests from that pad. You know, we've got some things that don't fit into the regular crop rotations and stuff, and that's our perennial plantings. The asparagus, the blueberries, the blackberries and raspberries, and most of you have worked some with that. Well, I guess you all helped weed the asparagus, but we need to weed and prune the blueberries. So that's going to be our main goal today, is weeding and pruning the blueberries. And then we've got to mulch the blueberries, put on more bark mulch. That's a fairly big job. It's not a hard job, but it takes a while. That's not an emphasis of our farm, but we certainly like to have flowers at market. They sell well, they make, I mean, you know, there's no question that if you have the market, flowers can make much more money than vegetables. Oh yeah. Flowers, you could make a lot of money on. Oh, the reason I have not focused on flowers more is just my understanding of last day events, I guess. I mean, you know, when times get tough, I mean, there are edible flowers, but for the most part, you know, flowers are a discretionary purchase. You know, they're not a necessary purchase. And so, but I loved, there was I think he was a French man who came to the market one time, and we were talking, and he says, in France, we eat vegetables for the body, and we buy flowers for the soul.
That sounds very French.
Oh, no, he said, vegetables feed the body and flowers feed the soul. And so I thought that was good. And interestingly enough, during COVID, flower sales boomed because people felt the need for something to cheer them up. You know, everything was so depressing that it was like.
So that's why in the end times,
Yeah.
if your enemy is coming and you say, hey, I love you.
Yeah, I'm not against flowers at all. I just can't handle, you know, more than I'm doing. So somebody else has to do flowers, which Kelly has done. Kelly, in the last couple of years, she has really focused on spring flowers and then not done so much during the summer. Spring flowers are easier. You know, once you get into the heat and the humidity and the bugs, it's a bit more of a challenge.
Because they're all planted outside. Those are not planted in.
Well, I mean, a lot of them do better in greenhouses, but, you know, I'm a little jealous of my greenhouse space, and so, I mean, she's usually had at least one caterpillar tunnel. We could put a caterpillar tunnel over flowers if we need to. Yeah, any other questions about what's going? Oh, I was just going to say, as far as the farm goes, basically I have kind of set, you know, March for planting indoors, but then as soon as we get to April, that's when we start planting outdoors.
Mm.
So we want beds and everything ready so that, you know, we've got a whole second planting of brassicas that will be going outdoors.
What is your last average frost day here again?
Yeah, that's a good question. April 15
Okay.
is the average, but I think we understand what average means. We have had
May 10.
frosts as late
Wow.
as like the 10th of May.
Even here, wow.
So that's unusual, obviously, but I really discourage people from planting tomatoes out until the beginning of May. A lot of people will try to plant them out in April.
And the heat for the tomatoes in the greenhouses. To which degree do you heat them?
Yeah, that's a very complicated question.
Okay.
But I think I can say just basically roughly 65 at night and 75 in the day is, and it's more complicated than that, and that's why we're actually working on getting there's a Canadian company from Quebec that has programmed the controllers for different crops. So, you know, like they start warming it up gradually a few hours before sunrise, and it's very it gets very complex. So that's kind of a big picture of what we're trying to do in the next week or two. Just, you know, I mean, our CSA starts in less than a month now, and we have to have stuff to fill the boxes. So that's, planting is always, planting trumps everything else in priority, because if you don't keep planting, then you don't have stuff to put in the boxes. So that's definitely our highest priority. But I feel pretty good about what we got planted last week. The strawberries, another thing we want to do soon with them, well, we want to go through and fertilize the garlic, and then with the strawberries, I think I told some of you, we have to knock down all the wheat in the aisles, and then we're going to be putting fabric, stapling it down in the aisles. It's a white fabric. So that's something I hope maybe we can do this week after the frost. We'll wait till after the frost.
When is it supposed to frost?
Tonight and tomorrow night. Tomorrow night's going to be the really cold one. One of my apps is calling for 22, which is a little scary actually, because as I told you, we can often be 5 to 10 degrees below what they forecast. So it could be in the low 20s or even high teens.
Would we need to like double or triple cover the strawberries?
Yes. I'm thinking actually that we might use the sprinklers to be more safe. So we would cover the strawberries with row cover, and then you sprinkle on top of that. And if you remember your physics, as water freezes, it releases heat. So, yeah, let's all wait. Yeah, so as long as you keep putting on more water, it keeps the plants from freezing.
And the water itself that you put on it doesn't freeze?
Oh, it does. In the morning, there'll be a thick layer of ice, but the berries...
But it insulates the berries, sort of, kind of?
Well, yeah, I mean, actually, when you use row covers, it kind of does both. It creates what's called an igloo effect, and that ice would trap in more of the ground heat. But the main way it works is just the actual freezing process releases heat.
Will we do that with the blueberries too?
I don't know. I really don't like to frost protect. We have frost protected the blueberries, but you end up with lots of broken branches, which I really don't like. So, and I'm not sure they're far enough along to worry about at this point. We'll be looking at that closer today.
So when you do this frost protection with the strawberries, do you use hoops, or you just still put the rock cover just on the plants? Okay. And what do you do for fertilizing the garlic?
We're going to just use the feather meal, the pelletized, and just yeah, it's
drop
it's
a little bit in the hole.
labor intensive, but just drop a small handful in each hole.
Okay.
Yeah. Garlic, I was just looking, I have a good new book that I'm perusing some. And it was just saying how garlic is a heavy feeder of nitrogen.
Do you fertilize the strawberries also now in spring?
We will, but with that we're going to be doing different. We're going to be doing foliar and fertigation according to our schedule. You want to get that paper in there on the strawberries. So unless there's more questions, that's kind of things we're going to be working on the farm in the next little bit. So we've been using, last year was our first year using this advancing eco-agriculture program. In the summertime, because of the heat, what we have learned is that even if the nutrients are available in the soil, sometimes because of the way heat reacts on the plant is not able to uptake those nutrients. So it seems like it's not necessarily enough to have it in the soil. Sometimes you have to baby the plant, or give it an IV, which is the foliar spraying, because when you spray the nutrients on the leaves, they can be taken into the plant much quicker than through the soil. And so we did it last year with the tomatoes, and we had the best tomato crop we've ever had. It stayed the healthiest all season long.
Nice.
So we're pretty excited. And I did it a little bit on the strawberries, and I think it had a positive effect on them as well. So we're going to be using this program on the strawberries, the tomatoes, the peppers, eggplant, and cucumbers at least. Is anything fruiting? The nutrient management is much more complicated than just leafy plants. It's quite easy to grow greens, lettuces and greens, and even your root crops, your beets and those kind of things are easy compared to fruiting crops. Yeah, so it's kind of intense, you're having to spray and fertigate every week, but it's worth it if the results are, increased yields and quality.
Das waren noch wertvolle Informationen, oder? Ich hoffe, dass jeder etwas für sich mitnehmen konnte, für seine Situation, motiviert wurde, ein paar Fragen auch beantwortet wurden, dass was Neues dabei gewesen ist. Und wenn ihr noch Fragen habt oder Kommentare dazu, dann lasst uns das gerne bitte in den Kommentaren wissen, dass wir darauf eingehen können. Und wir lernen ja hier gemeinschaftlich, und das ist eine gute Sache, dass wir das eben genauso machen können. Genau, also das war's für heute. Wir freuen uns, wenn ihr das nächste Mal wieder dabei seid bei Farmers in Training. Bis dahin, let's make farming great again.